As if everybody hadn't heard enough about this Bud Light UFC deal, we got a news story, and this is a good one. We got a story about the UFC potential gag order with Sean Strickland, who has made some very serious threats about what he's going, promises about what he's going to do about the Bud Light sponsorship, what he's going to say, the position he's going to put the Bud Light company in. And I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen with Bud Light, UFC, etc. And whether or not the UFC is just going to straight up put a gag order on Sean Strickland based on this, and what the gag order would actually be. What he can say, what he can't say, etc. So that is exactly what we're going to talk about. And Sean Strickland always coming through, making things exciting. I love this guy, man. I really genuinely do. I think Sean Strickland is the best thing that's happened to the UFC in a long time because he makes it interesting. We obviously are aligned culturally with Sean Strickland if we are aligned culturally with the UFC. Bud Light coming in, very contentious, it seems like, you know. And now I am seeing the side, well, not the side, the people like these channels that originally started out kind of like unbelievable, the boycotts are going to be out of this world. And I'm talking outside of the UFC combat sports community. We're talking about like these we're talking like Tim Pool and you know, content creators like that. They were like, you know, UFC goes woke, does Bud Light. Now they've done a complete 180 because of what Sean Strickland said. And now they're saying that this was brilliant on the part of Sean Strickland. Maybe what Bud Light's actually doing is something different than what they thought. And we're going to talk about all of it. I don't have an opinion, you know, listen, like I'm just going to say what they said. I'm going to say what I think. I'm going to say what Sean Strickland's going to do. If you want to boycott him, boycott him. If you want to, you know, support him, support him. I don't, you know what I mean? I'm sorry, like boycott UFC. I've made my opinion on that clear. If you want to continue to, you know, boycott Bud Light, boycott Bud Light. You know what I mean? I'm not weighing in on what people should do. Just what I think is going to happen now. You know what I mean? And it's going to be fun because Sean Strickland is going to put the screws to him unless he's not allowed to, which I think is highly likely. And I'll tell you exactly why and how he's going to get around the gag order, because I think he will. Now, before I get into it, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Support this channel. We are growing fast, talking about all the most important topics, you know, and, you know, look at like talking out of a skull sometimes. Sometimes you got to talk out of a skull. Subscribe to the channel if you don't want to become a skull that was bathed in acid in Mexico. That's where I got this skull. A cartel sold this skull to me, okay? They acid washed him to get the skin off, and then I had an artist put this on his head. This was a human. This was an enemy of the new Jalisco, or the Jalisco New Generation cartel. That's where I got this. That's made up. That is not true. I made that up. Totally made that up. I've just been watching a lot of documentaries about that particular cartel, and so that's why they were fresh on the mind. I definitely did not get anything from them, I promise, and I have nothing negative to say about them because I don't want to become a skull like this guy. Because they have killed YouTubers before for saying negative things about the leader of that cartel, and thus I would absolutely never do that. I have nothing but positive things to say about him. I think that he's an incredible leader. I think he's the scariest dude on earth, and I would imagine that her product is awesome. Jesse, I'm the best. All right. So kicking things off right here, Sean Strickland speaks out over the UFC Bud Light deal. So let's start with exactly what Sean Strickland said and what I think this is going to lead into for UFC's interactions with Sean Strickland, gag orders, etc., what they're going to gag him on. All right, so he says that he is happy that Bud Light is finally doing the right thing. He said, I, Sean Strickland, a representation of the American people, am going to fix you, Bud Light. Thank you for giving me money. Thank you for supporting my platform. I'm going to help you guys. Strickland doesn't approve of the fact that the brand partnered alongside transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney in April this year. In the clip, he said he has been the biggest advocate of biological females. He added that, Hey, Jesse, are you good to read?
Well, I was in Mexico for an entire week, and my brain doesn't work very well.
Anywho, he added that if he were able to share his views on transgender people on Instagram, he would be kicked off the platform. Despite all of this, Strickland told his followers that he is looking forward to picking up a can of Bud Light now that the brand has a deal with the UFC. Don't worry, I got this. I'm here to save the day. Some of the fans in the comment section approved of him supporting the beer company, while others said they didn't care. Didn't care. They were still going to boycott it. He's getting the bag, said one user. This man's the hero America deserves. I love how Sean speaks freely. Bud Light is not savable. Yada, 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 yada. So you guys get the idea, right? So in case you guys are unclear on what Sean Strickland is saying, he is saying that now that Bud Light has supported UFC and become the main sponsor of UFC, Strickland's going to put him to the test. He is a middleweight champion. He is the UFC middleweight champion. Let's take a look at what Tim Pool had to say about Sean Strickland and the Bud Light stuff. Let's just start right there. Bam!
Bud Light, it's interesting. I got to think smarter because I did not see this. Said if Bud Light offered me $100 million for sponsorship, I'd say no way. I now realize how stupid that is for exactly what Sean Strickland has said.
Correct.
No, you should take the deal.
Of course.
You should. And you force Bud Light to back everything you're saying.
Yes.
I feel really dumb. Last week I said if they offered the money, I wouldn't take it. Why? Money's not everything.
Dumb.
And then I realized that money, every dollar is a pledge for the words you say. Wow. This guy, Sean Strickland, smarter than me. I can't believe I missed this one.
So am I. It's exactly what I said in my first live stream.
If Bud Light came to me now and said they wanted to sponsor the show, I'd smile and say, let's negotiate the terms. The terms are going to be, you can't back out. And if you do, you pay the full amount. And that's it, baby. Why? Because then every day when we have our conversations and with that Bud Light sign right behind us, Bud Light is backing every word we say.
Thank you. Exactly what I said the minute this deal happened. Go watch the live stream. The first one I did while I was in Cancun. I wish I could rewind. That was 1 week ago. And that was, oh my God, it was heaven on earth. And because I was in Cancun, not because of the deal. But this is exactly what I said from the jump. I didn't understand how anyone saw it differently. This is exactly what I said.
I did not even think that. I was too angry. I was too angry. And it was ignorant. And now I realize.
Now, you guys may remember that when Dana was apprehensive about having Sean Strickland fight against Israel Adesanya, Izzy shared that they were concerned that, Strickland might embarrass the company if he became the champion. So there's that. But here's the thing. I think that what Sean Strickland has demonstrated since winning the belt is that he is a fantastic representation of the company. He actually is much smarter than people give him credit for. He is saying things that represent the ideas of many Americans. And in my opinion, he hasn't really pushed the envelope too hard, right? Think about this for a second. Actually, let me finish the thought. So what Sean Strickland is saying is that he's going to get on the microphone and he is going to say things like, I just want to thank Bud Light for being the sponsor of this company, where we all know that men are men, women are women, and all this trans stuff is just mental illness. I just wanted to say that. So thank you, Bud Light, for signing off on those ideas and making it clear that you're on our side. And then you're going to sit there and see if Bud Light says anything publicly to counteract those statements, because if they don't say anything, I guess that's them signing off on these ideas, right? Sean Strickland says, Dylan Mulvaney is not a female. He is a mentally ill man. If he says that into a microphone, Bud Light does not respond to that. Logo's right there. They're the main sponsor of this show. So is that them signing off on the opinion that Sean Strickland just shared? Seems like it would be, seems like it would be. And thus, that is why Tim Pool and people like that who originally were like, boycott everything, said, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't see it. This is brilliant. We are looking for a redemption for Bud Light, and this is it. Potentially. Because if they don't say anything about that and they sign off on those ideas, that is the redemption story that we were looking for. Originally, everybody wanted them to apologize, and I never understood that. I was like, apologize? Like, is that really what you want? You want them to apologize? What we want them to do is just go the other way. Go. I mean, I guess an apology is fine, but who cares? Like, none of us can. Like, when companies do XYZ and then they apologize, do you ever put any weight on the apology? When an actor says, like, as an example, when Mario Lopez You may remember him from Saved by the Bell. And he said in 2019, okay, this is a true story. In 2019, Mario Lopez said, you know, when it comes to the trans stuff, like if we're talking about letting 3-year-olds say that they're the other gender, that just seems like a little bit much, right? So that essentially would be the equivalent of saying, I think that if I poured water on my arm, it would probably get wet, you know? Like 1 + 1 also could be considered 2, right? So if you add 1 and 1, that'll equal 2, right? There's no one who would disagree with that. But somehow, a week later, he was putting out a long, formatted apology to the trans community for his very transphobic comments. And you're like, what did he say exactly? He said that 3-year-olds shouldn't be able to make a decision about their gender because that seems kind of crazy. They can't make decisions about anything. It's like, and he's apologizing. Oh yeah, deep, long-throated apology. So, yeah, you know, I don't see how Bud Light apologizing would have meant anything. I think them putting a ton of money behind the most MAGA-centric, you know, hey, we're never going to let a trans person fight in the UFC because it's absurd. And then Sean Strickland says things like that into the microphone. And if they don't counteract them, then, you know what I'm saying? Now, if they still want to give money to those other organizations, they want to sponsor the Toronto Pride Parade or whatever they're doing. Spoiler, Bud Light, you could spend $150 billion with the UFC. And if you're still doing that, you're not going to get anybody back, dude. It's not going to work. And I'm curious if you think that sponsoring those Pride Parade events is getting you a lot of sales over with that community, because I doubt it, you know. I just feel like they're going to see through exactly what you're doing because no one likes people pandering. Well, you were already with us originally, so I'm just saying, doesn't matter. But like I said, apologies don't mean anything. Actions speak louder than words. So when I say that Sean Strickland faces a gag order with the UFC, what do I mean? Right? What do I mean? So what Strickland is implying he's going to do, we just went over, right? Now the question is the UFC going to let him directly call out the main sponsor of the UFC? Okay? What he should have done is not said anything about it and just done it, you know? He should have just done it into a microphone as loudly as he could. Or just done it on his Twitter and said, as the middleweight champion of the UFC, I'm glad. I mean, that is kind of what he did, actually. And the UFC did not apologize. You know, they didn't apologize. But my guess is that as he goes into his next fight, of course, the organization is going to talk to him about this. And they're probably going to say something along the lines of, don't mention Bud Light. You know, that is my guess. I believe the gag order will be, don't mention the Bud Light. Just the Bud Light sponsorship. Just don't mention it. If you want to talk about how you feel about, you know, trans people or whatever, go ahead. Just don't mention Bud Light. Because at the very least, when you pay $150 million to a company, you expect that the company is not going to disparage you or have any of their representation disparage you. Tough part about that, though, Sean Strickland is, you know, an independent contractor. I would imagine, though, that in their contracts, they do have things that limit them from trashing sponsors, you know. That said, I've seen a video of Nate Diaz saying that the Reebok shoes suck. So there's that, you know. But I don't know. What do you guys think? You think the UFC is just going to let that fly? They're going to let, like, Sean Strickland get on the microphone and say, you know, things that directly challenge Bud Light in the way that he is laying out? Because I doubt it. I hope they do. I hope they do. I really do. I don't think Dana cares, other than his job as a CEO is to protect money and bring revenue in. And if Bud Light offered them $50 million more than the next biggest bidder, you know what I mean? Like, they did the deal. So are they going to let fighters go in there and trash Bud Light? I can't imagine that would be the case. Because again, it's one thing to be able to put your logo on the canvas. But if you do that, and what that leads to is a bunch of red pill fighters coming on, and every time they get on the microphone, they trash Bud Light. That can't not be included in the contract in one way or another where they're not allowed to do that. Or maybe Dana's like, look, dude, I'm not putting any limitations on anything that my fighters are going to say. I'm not going to do that. Possible. But if there's a gag order, that's what it's going to say. It's not going to limit him, saying anything about transgender. It's going to limit him mentioning the brand Bud Light in conjunction with any of that stuff. So now I guess we just wait and see. What is Sean Strickland going to say? Is this going to be a net positive for the culture war or a net negative? My opinion, like I've been saying, woke is on its way out. Anything woke, we just boycott it. And you should definitely consider to do that. Continue to do that. Okay? Everyone just keep on doing what we're doing and we will win. We will win the culture war. Guaranteed. Okay? Boys are boys, girls are girls. Boys should not be able to beat girls in regular, in female sports. It's stupid. It's stupid. And it just represents pulling people away from objective reality that we need to fight against. So anyway, I love you guys. Subscribe to the channel if you want. Love you.